Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to give you a complete tutorial of the 2-2-1 half-court trap defense. This is a great defense to run with most age basketball teams, so let's get down to the clipboard and let's check this out. Okay, so just like in any trap defense, your main objective is to trap the ball along the sidelines and preferably at the half court and sideline area right there. Mainly because if a player gets in that area, he cannot go back over half, or else it's an over and back, and obvious reasons he cannot go out of bounds. So if he is trapped there, there is nowhere for him to go. So, keeping that in mind, what we're going to try and do is close off the middle and direct the ball handler to either pass or dribble the ball towards the sidelines. Now, in a half-court trap, we're going to start behind the half-court line. We do not want to go over the half-court line. The reason for that is once you go over, you are now basically creating open spots on the court for players to run to and to be able to get an open pass to. So that is why we want to stay behind half on this defense. Going from there, the next two players, these two guys, they want to be above the free throw line, but under the 3-point line. And the idea for these guys is the secondary trap man on the corners. So these guys, 1 and 2, are going to trap up top. They're going to close off the top, and they're going to redirect players towards the sidelines. Next, that's going to be player 4, or on that side, player 3. And they are the ones who are going to be initiating the trap, with player 1 popping over afterwards to continue the trap and to actually make the trap happen. So, let's say, for example, we have player 1 who tries to dribble up the middle of the court. We're going to have players 1 and 2 close off the top, and we're going to have players 3 and 4 go a bit wider, unless there's players in the middle, in which case we're going to be still having them close off the middle. We don't want anything up the middle, we want everything up the sidelines. Now, going from there, what we're going to be having is, let's say player 1 decides to pass. We are then going to have player 1 and 4 close off and try to trap him on that corner. Meanwhile, when that happens, we want player 2 to close off half, we want player 3 to cover middle, and we want player 5 to then cover the baseline sideline corner. However, in this case, let's say instead we have player 1 trying to dribble out towards that side. In this case, we're then going to be having player 1 continue to guard player 1 blue. However, again, still not passing half. We want to make sure that player 1, he wants to then dribble towards that corner, and we will have then player 4 continue for that trap. Meanwhile, we're going to be having player 2 also shadow coming onto this side of the imaginary half line, mainly because if player 2 is trying to go up the middle to blue, then player 2 red will be able to defend that, and he will be then able to either redirect player back towards the sideline, or to at least cut him off, maybe draw a charge, or whatever it may be. Now, if player 2 is smart and he continued to reverse the ball, what we're going to be having is player 3, he needs to then sprint up towards that sideline. Player 5 needs to switch over to the side to guard this player, or at least that corner. And now we're going to be having player 2, he is going to be also sprinting over, player 1 is going to be sprinting over, and player 4 is going to be covering the middle. Again, we don't want players to go up the middle, we want them to just get past half so that we can trap them in this corner. So personally, how I like to run the 2-2-1 half-court trap, I actually like to have my guards guarding the middle. I like to have my forwards guarding up top. These are players who are some of the taller players on the court, however, also very quick. I like to have my slowest player at the back and my quickest players in the middle. Generally speaking, my quickest players are going to be my guards. Now, the reason for that is because there is a lot of ground to cover for those two players. So if, for example, we had that ball get reversed, so we had the defense moved over just like so, and now we have the ball getting reversed, we now have players cutting off the top, and now we have the reverse one more time. Well, now player 1 just ran from this side of the court all the way over to this side to then cut off player 2 so that now we can continue that trap. This is why I like to have the quickest players in the middle. Now, on top of this, there is also a half-court trap that is ran a bit differently. Now, this is one that really got my team going one year, and that was, it's still a 2-2-1 trap. It may look more like a 4-1, but it's because these wing players are wider apart, and player 5 is playing a bit higher. Now, the reason for this one is we're not too worried about the long passes. What we're hoping for is player 5 to be quick enough, so if you have a quick center, this may be a great option for your team. And what we're going to be running here is, again, the same idea, closing off the top. And if the ball tries to go up the top, we're closing it off and we're redirecting the same way again. However, the idea behind having players 1 and 2 wider is so that there is not as much running space to try and catch up to trap. We have a lot less running space so that we can orchestrate a trap quicker, and also the ability to double team quicker, which then will lead us into being able to create more turnovers, which will help us win more games. Another strategy that I have seen with the 2-2-1, again with those players in the middle being wider and player 1 playing, or at least our back player playing up higher, is by having our point guard in the back, having our 2 tallest players in the middle, and our guard and our forward up front. Now, the idea behind this one is for these tall players, this one works really well, especially with the wider defense. And that is because when the ball gets past half, we now have a giant cutting off any passes going in that direction. And we have a nice quick player who is able to reverse quickly, but also still able to orchestrate this trap defense. So, even with the reverse, so before he gets over half and we do a reverse, we already have players who don't have that much room to cover. And now when player 3 comes over half, we now have a taller player with a quick player who again is going to be very successful. The idea with coaches running tall players in the middle is for the fact that with their big long wingspan, they're going to be able to then stop that player from making any long passes. And we've seen this with many NBA teams as well, especially with the Toronto Raptors, with Marc Gasol coming way out of the post, because most teams will just say, sit your butt in the low post and wait for your player to get there. But they're actually orchestrating the same kind of a trap with a tall player so that now we're able to trap them along the sideline and really be able to shut down any opportunities that they have by passing the ball. Now, especially at a younger age group, if you're putting a very tall player guarding a shorter player, that shorter player is going to have a harder time being able to pass that ball out of the trap. So, keeping in mind, when you're coaching young players, you want to keep it simple. But if you're coaching at the high school level, that might be a very good opportunity or a very good option for your team to win more games. Now, this 2-2-1 zone defense works really well with the 4-1 basketball defense that I am currently making a book on. We have been testing it with many different coaches. It's actually won a championship over in Europe and in Greece, which is fantastic. So stay tuned for that. Link is in the description below. Up until then, go check out my Unbeatable Basketball Zone Defense book, which again, link in the description below. This defense works pretty good with that as well. And I will see you guys again later on today for the second video of the day.